Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our monthly Ween webinar series. And today we have a very special guest, Amber, talking about a very important topic, serial entrepreneurship. So, Amber, I definitely want to thank you for your time. Please, we'll get right into it. Introduce yourself and who you are and your background.
Hi, Raven. Thank you for having me, and thank you to the ladies of Ween for having me. You know, it's always a really great opportunity when I'm able to be in the company of my beautiful Ween ladies, past and present. And thank you to Felicia and Christy and Sabrina and Lauren Lake and all the amazing women that make up the Ween leadership. So your question was my background. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see, my background, I have a bunch of different titles, if you will. And really what they do is they encompass the work that I've done over the past 25 years, believe it or not. I've been in this game for 25 years. And when I say this game, I'm referring to business, and with a lot of focus on media and entertainment, music, radio, television, entrepreneurship, and from a general perspective, then moving into real estate and being an author and, you name it. So it sounds like it's more all over the place than what it is, but there really has been a method to my madness. And I'm, very grateful to say that everything that I've done over the past 25 years has led me to another thing that I've done. It's all been very interconnected. So those are my titles, but if you want me to tell a little bit about my history, that might paint the picture better.
Yes, definitely. And before you get into those nuggets, if you can just share for those of our Ween members who may not be following you, what's your Instagram and Twitter so they can tweet you and interact with you throughout the night?
Sure. So my Instagram is my full name, Amber Noble Garland. That's AMBERNOBLEGARLAND. And that's Instagram. For Twitter, I think I just changed my Twitter address to A Noble Garland. So ANOBLEGARLAND.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And as Amber talks throughout the night and gives inspirational quotes on just her background and everything, be sure to follow her and comment and let her know that you're watching, and also use the hashtag Ween Online. So that's WEEN online. And we'll get right into it. So tell us more about your background. Where did you go to school? What were some of your first internships?
Okay, so I'm a graduate of Temple University. Yes, I'm an LTU. And let's see, my first internship actually was at the age of 15. When I was in high school in 10th grade, I was a part of this organization called FBLA, which stood for Future Business Leaders of America. So they had this thing called Free Enterprise Day, right? So I didn't even know what enterprise really meant at age 15. But essentially what it was, Raven, was an opportunity for students like myself who were a member of that after school program to identify a business that was specialized in what they thought they wanted to pursue as a career when they grew up. So for me at age 15, I always knew I wanted to be the next Oprah, right? Or I wanted to be, the next big radio personality, or both. And so, as an ambitious 15-year-old, I harassed one of my older cousins who had a friend who the radio station as I believe she was a receptionist at that time, or the right hand to somebody who was very influential, who's no longer with us, a man named E. Stephen Collins. And so they allowed me to come in and shadow for a one-day internship at WDAS Radio in Philly, where I grew up. And it was the radio station that was like, that I heard in my household because my mom listened to it. It was R&B and classic soul. Well, let me tell you, I went in there for a one-day internship. I talked my way into a full-blown internship, and that didn't last very long because then I talked my way into a job. So I got an opportunity to be in there with Gary Shepard and Patty Jackson, who are legendary Philadelphia radio personalities, but they're legendary in radio, nationally. And then there was an amazing woman named Marie Tolson, who I owe a lot of credit to, who was the marketing promotion director. And they all embraced me and wound up hiring me as a 15-year-old for this big event, this big festival called Unity Day that used to happen in Philly on the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, where now you see Welcome to America, or the big thing that Jay-Z does. That used to, or Made in America, that used to be something called Unity Day. There was a similar thing that they phased out, but it was like 500,000 people on the Parkway. And I as a 15-year-old, I used to get a paycheck in radio, and it just really developed from there. So to try to speed it up for you, I wound up working at DAS every summer while I went to school, to high school. Then I graduated from high school, continued to work at DAS, became a student at Temple, and wound up working 30 hours a week at my college radio station, WRTI, right? While also taking a full course load at Temple, while still working at the radio station, DAS, part-time, while, doing so many other events, special events. I worked at a nightclub, doing promotions. I just did everything. Back when I was 16, my good friend Charlie Mack, who, discovered Meek Mill and discovered Yaz from Empire and discovered Boyz II Men, I used to help him with his celebrity games. So I've always had my hands, in special events, in media. Take a breath. Fast forward a little bit further, and I started managing my first management client, Egypt Sherrod. I became her manager in '96 when we were college students. So she was my first client, and we were best friends. And so from there, I actually got recruited by Radio One, and which is the largest urban owned or African American owned urban company for radio stations. And they came in and they switched over an alternative station and made it R&B and hip hop. So they recruited me out of college, offered me my first dream job, which is the thing that I was going to college for. So while my peers were just getting started, I was being recruited like LeBron James, to the big leagues to take on an enormous job at the age of 22, managing a full staff as a promotions and marketing director at the time. It was called Philly 103.9 Jams. So take another breath. Tell me when you want me to stop, or if you want me to continue the story.
That's amazing. And something that I wanted to, even though this isn't one of our formal questions,
sure.
You said a lot about, you growing through the ranks and people noticing you. So it's not always just getting the internship. It's once you're acquiring it, being memorable and being impressionable. So tell some of our viewers, how can they be and once they reach step one and actually get the internship and get attention, how do they kind of retain that attention and grow through the ranks to a job like as you did?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because I skipped over a couple things because there's just so many things that I've done that, I don't want to seem like I'm going on and on and on. But as I replay my history in my mind, it's like, oh my God, I done a lot. So, one of the things that I neglected to share was that I also interned with this organization called IAM, and it was an acronym. It was International Association of African American Music. An amazing woman named Deanna Williams, and her partner at the time was a really gifted woman named Sheila Eldridge. And they used to do these big music conferences, but they were just so classy. So before there was a BET Honors, before there were a number of these things, Deanna and her partner at the time used to really put on these spectacular conferences. And Deanna was older than me, but she was my college peer. She was my classmate at Temple University. And so she gave me an internship. And so I grew from that. And what I did to make myself stand out, first and foremost, I was just being myself, authentically, exactly who I am, tenacious, curious, ambitious, respectful, humble, yet confident. And one of the things I think I always tried to do as an intern myself was to see how I could be of value, right? To see what I could, offer and bring to the table. Because I think sometimes now this generation, because we're in this microwave, YouTube, iPhone, generation, the opportunities for interns, while some of them may still be there, I don't know if they can get down and dirty like we used to do, in the 90s and the 2000 era. And so back then you had to really to be in it to win it. And so for me, I always wanted to just be of value. I've never in my life wanted to just take up the air in the room. I've never wanted anything just handed to me. Everything that I've ever accomplished or achieved, I believe that I've had to work for it. And so working for it, being willing to do the work, being willing to treat it like it was a job, whether it was a paycheck or not, I think those are some of the qualities that I tried to exhibit as an intern and that I would encourage interns now more than ever, because we are in an era where everything is so technological. That human touch, that personal touch, people really getting to know you and who you are, I think it will make you stand out as an intern. And if it's somebody who's in a position of influence or a position of authority who can help make a decision if you get your internship renewed or if your internship goes from being non-paid to a paid gig, I think if you can help them sort of reconnect with the era that they probably came up in when you had to really work for it, that will give you a leg up because it's competitive.
That's really great. And now you walked us through some of your past experience. So tell us about what you're currently working on now.
Okay, so when I was at Radio One, I was there for 3 years. I, fell out of love with the environment, but I thought I no longer wanted to be in radio. So I stepped away, took a job that I hated. And so in telecom, and then Radio One recruited me back and asked me to come back to them to oversee the Russ Parr Morning Show's marketing and PR and whatnot. So I did that for a year. And then Kevin Lyles, who was the president and CEO of Def Jam and a mentor from afar at the time, actually gave me an unexpected text and offered to bring me to New York because the chairman of the company, Leor Cohen, had his right hand. That person was going out on a personal leave. And so Kevin's assistant was going to go assist Leor. And so Kevin wanted to bring me in. Now at the time, I had a national title. I was national marketing of blah, 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 blah for Radio One. They courted me back to the company, recruited me very, very heavily. Russ Parr and a woman named Mary Catherine Sneed, who used to be the COO. I mean, they let me name my title. They helped pretty much let me name my salary, let me name my job description. They were very happy with me, and they helped me fall back in love with radio. And so it was hard for me because, and there's a lesson in this, it was hard for me because I was like, oh, being an assistant, executive assistant, like assistant, been there, done that, don't you know who I am? And so, Kevin pretty much said, like, listen, you don't understand, like, this is Def Jam, like, this is like a $500 million company, like, you'll get to learn the company. And I was like, well, I'm a marketing executive. He said, listen, come in, be my right hand, be like my chief of staff, learn the company from the top down, right? And then when the opportunity presents itself, because he had just hired somebody and they couldn't get rid of that person. But he said, when the opportunity presents itself, I'll move you into that position once you play your position. Okay, fine. I did it. And he also told me he's going to change my life. And he did that because when I became Kevin's assistant, for the first time in my life, I earned $100,000. I entered the six-figure club working as his assistant. When in radio at the time, I was making almost $50,000 a year. And I thought I hit the lotto. So I did that for a while. He finally, promoted me to a product manager, brand manager, like he had always anticipated doing. I did brand management, product management for Jay-Z and LL Cool J and Chrisette Michele, who's my baby, and Joel Santana, Patti LaBelle, and Lionel Richie. Had all these amazing experiences. But then there was a shift, right? And something changed in the environment. Kevin had eventually left. I worked for L.A. Reid, who became the chairman. And, it's just something was changing in the air. And it was time for me to make a tough decision. And so in 2007, on the cusp of negotiating my next contract and promotion, I shifted gears and I resigned. And so from there, I took what had been my side hustle, which was talent management and real estate, which we didn't even talk about that. And I went from being a real estate investor, which I'd been from the early 2000s, and wind up actually becoming licensed in real estate, right, to sell it. I took my side hustle of being a talent manager and made it my main hustle, and began to do it full time. I then took different other things that I was doing and made them viable, full-time, profitable business enterprises for myself. And that was 2007 when I made that shift. And I talk about it in my book, Recession Proof, which will be coming out at the top of 2017. And life just hasn't been the same ever since, in such an amazing way.
That's really amazing. And you mentioned a lot about, side hustles then becoming, part of your day to day. Can you talk to us about what a serial entrepreneur means to you? A lot of people have different definitions.
Sure. A serial entrepreneur for me is someone who has, has the ability, or at least, let me take this back. A successful serial entrepreneur is someone who has made a decision to pursue more than one business interest, where they work for themselves and they are, self-employed or business owners. And they've, had some level of expertise or mastery at one particular thing. And then they're on a different track because there's more than one thing that they happen to be good at. Right. And so they have some level of mastery with that. They're making money at that, and they have something else. And they actually have these things going on, at the same time, simultaneously.
That's a great definition. And what are some of the challenges that you face as a serial entrepreneur? There are different industries, time management, just managing employees. Talk to us about how you handle some of those.
Okay, so time management. Whew. Well, first of all, there's never enough hours in a day. But one of the things I committed myself to in 2016 is to make every minute count, make every day count, right? I've committed myself to really having my life completely scheduled out. Like I've always done that, but I wasn't really disciplined with it. And so, for me, because my brain works differently than some people's brain, they're like, well, how can you do this? And how can you do that? I just know how to 2-track and 3-track my brain. I've been that way my entire life. From high school, when I didn't even have to work, I had like 2-3 part-time jobs. I had like 2 part-time jobs, and I had my own business as a teenager. And I got it from my dad. My dad, worked for the school board for 28 years. He owned a popular bar/nightclub. He owned multiple apartment buildings, and he owned a driving school, right? My mom was a hospice nurse, so she's the nurturer. So those skills have helped me in my talent management business, because you got to be very nurturing, very motherly, very hands-on, but you got to be very sharp in business and be able to, move on different tracks. So for me, like I said, scheduling is really important. Planning helped me in my talent management business, because you got to be very nurturing, not just winging it. Like I have to have a plan. I have to have a business plan for my businesses so that I know where I'm going, and I have to stay on task. And I have to also be flexible in terms of managing employees. The great thing about my business is that I have my core people who work with me. I now have an assistant in, each of the business areas that I have. So for real estate, I have an assistant. For talent management, I have someone assist me, and also with working on my book, I have someone who's, project managing me now, right? Because the manager has to be managed. Mm-hmm. But I will say that working with people as an entrepreneur, who also have an entrepreneurial spirit about them, helps you as an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, I don't care if you have one business or you have 5 businesses. If you're working with people who have to always be babied, or you got to hover over them and micromanage them, then that's going to be really tough. So I think it's helpful to have support staff, freelancers. They don't necessarily have to be employees per se, but people who enjoy being part of a team, but are self-starters. And you don't have to, hover over top of them and tell them every little thing to do. People who aren't afraid to move without you being there, but know how to fall back and let you lead if it's that time.
That's great. Have you ever experienced sexism as a woman in business, and how do you handle those difficult moments?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially coming from the music business, because the music business is there's a lot of testosterone, in that space. Even with the radio business, in radio there was a time where it's like female air personalities. You could only be, middays, or you could be like overnights, or you could be the sidekick. I was faced with that a lot, which was actually one of the reasons why I was able to be successful when I was managing Egypt, because when I was a promotion and marketing director at the radio station, I was part of the management team of the actual radio station. So even though the radio personalities technically reported to the program director, I sat in all the management meetings. I helped make decisions. And I know some of the things that, were said in certain meetings, not because, the leadership was necessarily sexist, but I just think that for so many years, there was this notion that if you were a female, this was your role, and that was that. You rarely saw even female general managers. It was like you were the promotion director, you were the midday girl, or you were the sidekick on the morning show, or you did overnights, or you did part-time, or you were on the street team. That was it. So I saw that sexism. I don't really play into that. And at record companies, a lot too. Like you rarely saw a lot of female A&R directors, the ones who help pick the songs and sign the artists. You rarely saw like females in presidential or type roles. Like Sylvia Rhone was a big mentor. I wound up actually doing some consulting for her when I left Def Jam for about 6 months. She, and Shanti Das brought me on to fill in for my friend Tasha Fox, who was on maternity leave. And Sylvia Rhone, frankly, was only one of the females presidents, with the exception of Julie Greenwald, who I also worked, with at Def Jam, who moved up from being a senior vice president of marketing at Def Jam to actually being co-chairman at Atlantic Records when she and Kevin Liles and Leora Cohen and all of them moved over. So yeah, there's been sexism, but for me, I don't play into that, because at the end of the day, I believe it's about who's putting points on the board, and most men respect sports analogies. So my thing is, if you're doing your work, you're putting points on the board, and you're producing, and you keep your relationships tight, it doesn't matter what your gender is, and as long as you don't over sexualize yourself and try to use that to get ahead in the business, then you're good.
Thank you. That's really, really great advice. Some people find it difficult to build one business and maintain it. How did you find the confidence to build several, and how did you know you were ready for the next venture?
Okay, so for me, it's been difficult to some extent too, because my brain never shuts off. So every time I think of an idea, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I could be good at this, and I know how to make money at it. But what I decided to do was, I decided to take the things that I knew I had a substantial amount of experience in, and figure out, and most of that experience, was initially gained from working in a corporate environment, whether it was working for Radio One, which like now, has developed and owns TV One network, whether it was working for Clear Channel when I was doing the Unity Day at WDAS, which used to be called like Beasley Broadcasting, then Evergreen, and AM/FM, then Clear Channel, now it's iHeartRadio. Or working at Def Jam, no matter whatever I did, once I felt like, I've gained quite a bit of experience in this, and I have some sense of mastery, and I'm really confident about what I do, not just because I think I'm good at it, because other people tell me that I'm good at it, and my results in terms of the amount of revenue I've helped to earn, or how I've helped to keep the bottom line intact, show that I'm good at it. Then I take that and I say, how can I make money for myself at this? How could I be entrusted with all the millions of dollars that I used to oversee for the marketing budgets I was in charge of at Def Jam, for the artists that I was in charge of? If I can help Def Jam keep their money intact, why can't I do that for myself, right? And so then I just go from there, and I just say, okay, how can I turn this into a business that is real? That's something I can scale, right? Build out, monetize, and expand. And then I look and I say, okay, now I've done that. What else am I good at? Am I good enough at this particular thing where somebody's going to cut me a check to buy a product for it? Are they going to hire me to consult? Are they going to trust me to negotiate on their behalf? And if I can show that I have a track record of earning a certain amount of money or showing a certain amount of expertise in there, then I then take that and I figure out how I can actually turn it into a scalable business. That's what I've done. Eventually I got stopped though, because I'm gonna have so many slashes. It's gonna be like, okay, you can't, you can't do so many things and really be great at them. You at some point you have to you got to streamline. And so that's where I am too, because I don't want to be doing a million things and then I lose my edge.
Amazing. I know one of your ventures, of course, is real estate. So
Yep.
someone asks, how can someone break into the real estate business while making time and working a full-time job?
You can absolutely do it. It depends upon what state you're in, and if they want to, if they're serious about it. Anybody who's interested in real estate, I would definitely encourage them to get in contact with me, and they can contact me as it pertains to real estate. They can contact me at matter of fact, tell them to contact me at Ween at ambertherealestateexpert.com. So if they put Ween, WEEN, at ambertherealestateexpert.com, I'll know that they were somebody that watched this. And I'd be happy to give them information and, explain to them how they can make, 6 figures in real estate. But it's absolutely doable depending upon what state you're in. So some states will allow you to take the real estate classes online. So you can actually do your regular job and be taking your classes online. I'm a big advocate of actually sitting in the classroom so that you can really get an understanding of it, because especially if you've never bought a house, if you don't own any real estate, I really think, it's better for you if you sit in a classroom with other people who are in the same position as you, so you can have a real fundamental understanding of it. And it's just something about that human interaction. They have weekend classes. It doesn't take forever to get your real estate license. You can get your real estate license in a week if you go and you smash it and bang it out. Then you have to go take your state boards. I just actually finished getting my finishing my broker's classes too, which is something that I've wanted to do since 1998 when I first took my real estate classes. But I got a little sidetracked because my career was just taking off. Mm-hmm. And I needed to get the experience. Now I've actually had my real estate sales license since 2007 when I left Def Jam. So that's 9 years. And I've done it full time and, 6-figure years, year after year, so it's doable.
And for those who are just joining us, as I mentioned, be sure to hashtag Ween online. And also, Amber, repeat your social media and your Instagram so they can follow you as well if someone's just joining.
Sure. My Instagram is Amber Noble Garland, all one line, AMBERNOBLEGARLAND. And my Twitter is A Noble Garland, the letter A, NOBLEGARLAND.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And now you mentioned a lot of great moments from being hired, from being offered positions and working really hard. But tell us one of the most inspiring moments in your career and what kind of made it stand out for you.
Oh, wow. Let's see. One of the most inspiring moments in my career. There are so many. Can I give you more than one?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'll be quick. Okay, so one of the inspiring moments was actually when Kevin Liles featured me in his book, From Intern to President, Make It Happen. And my chapter was called Play Your Position. So that was really inspiring that, my former boss and former mentor, thought enough of me to acknowledge me in his book. That was really cool. Also, Charlie Mack, who, like I said, is legendary and who's managed all these great people and is like super duper connected. He gave me an amazing award at the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia, which was like this big, huge view. It's like BAM. It's like, Brooklyn Academy of Music. It's the equivalent of that in Philly, which is our hometown. And he gave me this beautiful diamond watch and recognized me, Music Soul Child, and Kenny Gamble of Gamble and Huff, who are incredibly legendary music makers. And he gave me a gorgeous diamond watch some years ago. So those were two moments. I mean, I could think of a dozen, but we'll be on here forever, girl, talking about our moments. But yeah, those are two moments that were very meaningful.
That's amazing. And what made them stand out for you? Like, did you feel appreciated? Like, what about those moments and those people made you feel good?
You know, I've never really been the person to, I feel like I'm self-validated, right? I feel like just my existence and God allowing me to get up and do everything I do validates me. But I'd be lying to you if I said that it isn't a great feeling when the people who you look up to and who you admire and respect acknowledge you without you having to ask them, right? And so, you know, for someone to say, and to be in such a high level of position of influence and affluence, frankly, to say, you know what, you play a significant role in my success as my right hand. And I'm writing my book. I wouldn't be able to write my book the way I'm doing it if you didn't have my schedule intact, and if you didn't act as a buffer for me, and if you didn't know how to hold down the fort for me, and if you didn't, you know, do all these things that help me be the best president and CEO. I want to make sure I acknowledge you in my book. Or, you know, Charlie, like I said, who, you know, he and my friend Troy Carter, who is now the chairman of Atom Factory. You know, he managed Lady Gaga for years. Troy managed Eve for years. Gosh, now he owns stock in Uber and Spotify and all these different companies in the tech world. And Troy is from like West Philly. We used to be passing out flyers together for Charlie Mack, right? And so now my friend is a multimillionaire and incredibly successful and accomplished. And so for Charlie to come back and say, I want to honor you with Kenny Gamble and Music Soul Child because you play a significant role in bringing notoriety to the city of Philadelphia, where we're from, and you're a great positive role model, right, for other young women and just people in general. I mean, how could that not be like one of the most significant things, you know? And so, like I said, I got a list of them, but you know, you start getting old, senility starts setting in. So, but those are two things that top list. Yep.
That's amazing. And I'm happy that you mentioned your award, because I wanted to kind of get into what, like, you know, it's amazing feeling to be awarded and people to recognize your work. But what advice can you give others working towards being more recognized in their field, and how can they stand out to also enjoy those moments?
That's a good question, Raven. What I would say is, don't look to be recognized, right? Do the work. Do your freaking work. Do your best. Don't allow anybody to relegate you to one type of job or role because of your gender, your color, your sex, your educational pedigree, right? Just do great work. Keep your head down. Keep your ears open. And keep your nose clean. And put yourself around people who surround yourself around people who are trying to go somewhere in life too, right? And the awards and all that sort of stuff will come. And you know what? Honestly, sometimes it doesn't come. Sometimes you will be overlooked. I've been overlooked for things. I'm overlooked for things, you know, to this day. But I can feel good about what it is I've done. My results and my track record is documented and verifiable. You can Google it. You can, you know, it's documented and it ain't gonna change, and I don't have to add a little sauce on it to make it more than what it is. And so some awards have come. You know, I just was nominated for NAACP Image Award for a book that I co-authored about real estate, called Keep Calm, It's Just Real Estate, Your No Stress Guide to Buying a Home. And there's other things that I probably could have, should have, whatever, but just do the work. Do the work. And the acknowledgments will come one way or another.
Amazing. You've been a long time supporter of Ween, and you even teach a Ween Academy course, and you also are doing a webinar now. So just in general, I want to know, what makes women empowerment a priority to you?
Oh gosh, women empowerment is a priority to me because I do realize that the scales are unbalanced for women. I do realize that we don't always get the opportunities that we need. I also acknowledge the fact that because some women, you know, choose to put themselves out there in a certain kind of way and over sexualize themselves, it sometimes it overshadows the women who want to keep their clothes on and who really want to earn their way to the top. And so I want to pour into those women. I want them to know that it's possible. I want to be a living, breathing example of what is possible. Sometimes, Raven, you know, the women or just people in general that do the most, they're not always the ones that you see, you know, on the YBF every day or on JasmineBrand.com every day. They're not always the ones you see. Sometimes those ones you see are the names that you know the most, but there's a whole village tribe of women like myself and others who haven't been really publicized necessarily, but who have done, you know, there's some women who've done some extraordinary things. And so women empowerment, I want the Ween young ladies to know that they exist, that I exist, and that it's possible. So I want to make those connections.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And another question I have, I know you have your book dropping next year. We're all going to look forward for that. But are there any other initiatives or up and coming speaking engagements that our listeners can support you on?
Sure. I'm excited. Actually, I have a surprise. I didn't tell you about this, but I've just completed an ebook about business, and it's like a teaser to my full book. Is called Recession Proof, and it basically is a how-to guide to go from employee to entrepreneur for all those people who aspire to go from employee to entrepreneur. Maybe they can't quit their job totally right away, but they want to know how to do what I did. So it's about me, but some other people who've done some extraordinary things. So everybody who sends either you an email or who emails me at ween@ambertherealestateexpert.com is going to get actually no, I'm sorry, not ween@ambertherealestateexpert.com. If they email me, I'm giving you all these email addresses. If they email me at ween@ambernoblegarland.com, right? I will give them a copy of my ebook for free, which is sort of like an appetizer before the entree comes with the big book. So they will get that on January 28th. I'm going to be doing a either a Periscope or a Twitter chat with Black Celebrity Giving. And it's part of their Wealth Project, which is this great initiative, who Jasmine Crowe, who I just did my Caravan of Kindness charity initiative with in Philadelphia, where I had Meek Mill and Yaz, who plays Hakeem on Empire, and Bernard Hopkins joined me to do a day of charity. But I'll be part of the Wealth Project for Black Celebrity Giving, and I'm going to be talking about how to recession-proof your business. And that's going to be, like I said, Periscope or Twitter chat. That's on the 28th. So they can go to ambernoble.com and check out my event calendar. It'll be on there. I'm sorry, ambernoblegarland.com. All these daggone websites. In addition to that, I'm going to be speaking at a university in March in Maryland, in Towson, Maryland. I'm also going to be a part of the Pink Slip Retreat for Raven Jones, her Fire Your Boss Academy. So I'm going to be honored and be one of the keynote speakers for that. That's also in the Maryland, D.C. area in March. I've officially launched Noble Acts of Kindness, which is my nonprofit charitable venture, which I'm really, really passionate about. And oh gosh, I'm going to be speaking in Virginia at a CEO retreat that a woman named Donna Izzard and her tribe of amazing women are doing. So they're going to have me speak down there. So it's a bunch of stuff. But if you go to ambernoblegarland.com, my event calendar is there. And, you know, by the end of the week, everything that's not already there will be there.
Okay. Thank you so much. So be sure to follow Amber. Amber, do you have any last minute words of wisdom or topics you need to discuss tonight through our questioning that you want to leave our listeners off with?
I think I have said so much. As you can see, I like to talk. But more importantly, I like to share. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to share. You know, I've lived an extraordinary life as a wife, now as a mother of an amazing 3 almost 4-year-olds, and as a serial entrepreneur who has her hands in, in different things, I'm extremely blessed, and I have no complaints. And so what I would like to leave, the Ween ladies and anybody watching this with is, don't let anybody limit you based on what they think they can or cannot do, right? I would like to say in this day and age, you have to be good at more than one thing. But it's not really about jumping all over the place, because you got to remember, I got 25 years. I done clocked 25 legitimate years, in business, in various businesses. So it's not like it happened overnight. But I would say now more than ever, you can't be a one-trick pony. You have to really be successful and to reach, any real level of wealth, right? You have to know, you have to have your hands in more than one thing. You need to have multiple streams of income. But the key is really getting great at one thing before you just go and bridge to another, right? But the sky's the limit, and I want everybody to just go for it. Just go for it. Find a good mentor. Read every book you can possibly read. Read my book, Recession Proof, when it comes out. Read the free ebook that I'm going to give you. Find good mentors. Find people who do what you want to do. And even if they don't have a lot of time to devote to you because everybody's busy, just, learn as much about them as you possibly can. And then come up with your own special, unique spin. And also, don't try to carbon copy everything you see. Like, be inspired by people, but don't clone and straight jack other people, because you are more than enough just with who you are. You just got to find your niche. Like I say, there's niches and there's riches and niches. So find what your niche is, and you will find your way, to a 6-figure or better life.
Thank you, Amber. You've been wonderful, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. You've been amazing, Raven. You're a wonderful host, very patient, and you ask great questions.
Thank you so much. So yes, everyone, please be sure to follow Amber and hashtag Ween online. If there is anything you missed today, the recap will be available at the same link. Thank you.
Awesome sauce.